to sue the newspaper. Let's get to the White House and CBS News reporter Olivia Rinaldi. Olivia, good to see you on a Friday. Can you walk us through what the Wall Street Journal is reporting and the president's reaction to it?
Harvesting our energy from all this.
Well, Mugo, it's good to be with you. The president is calling this a fake story, and as you noted in the intro, they're threatening to sue the Wall Street Journal and their parent company, which is owned by Rupert Murdoch, who we should know was a former ally of the president.
Harvesting people's energy.
Yeah, so Trump said that he reached out to Rupert to kill the story, and Rupert said, "No problem, I'll take care of it." And obviously it didn't happen. So what happened there, guys? Let's get up the likes to 500. Come on, we got 1,300 people here. I know it's hard. Just hit the like button, or hit this like, whatever. Fine, you want to hit this? Hit this. That makes me better.
Was close with over the last several years of his first administration.
It's like pulling teeth.
So the Wall Street Journal is reporting that back in 2003, for Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted sex offender, for his 50th birthday, that he was gifted a book that contained letters, and one of the letters was from Donald Trump. And in that letter, apparently, President Trump had said, "Happy birthday," and quote, "May every day be another secret." Now the president is denying this letter, and in a Truth Social post called it a fake letter, saying that supposedly to Epstein, he said, "These are not my words, not the way I talk. I don't draw pictures." The president also said that he told Rupert Murdoch not to print this, but he did anyways, and therefore he's going to sue. Earlier today, the president said he looks forward to getting actually Mr. Murdoch to testify in this lawsuit against him, calling the Wall Street Journal a quote pile of garbage, and saying that that testimony would be an interesting experience. So all of this about this alleged letter in the Wall Street Journal, we should note we have not independently seen this letter or been able to verify its authenticity. But the White House is also saying that they were not able to see this letter either. Caroline Leavitt weighed in earlier this morning saying they asked to see the letter and they weren't able to. So Mugo, a lot to note here.
And that's the thing. That is another one of the questions that I have, and a lot of people are saying, why not post the letter? They made this story and I guess quoted the supposed letter that was, I guess, typed out. Was it typed out or printed out or whatever? Why not post the letter? And so they're saying even Caroline Leavitt asked for it.
But basically, long story short, this is part of the groundswell of unhappiness about how this administration has handled the so-called Epstein files. We know that Trump supporters have been upset at the way it's been handled. They say they were promised a list, they were not given the list, and this administration is asking them to move on from this scandal. So, and they don't want to. They want to see that list. Voters I talked with yesterday in Pennsylvania told me as much. So we'll have to see how this goes forward in the coming weeks, and whether or not the White House can tamp down any concern about the Epstein files from their own base.
Yeah, it seems like tamping down those concerns is why the president is...
As a way to provide increased convenience to the consumer, because that's how they sell it, with manufacturers of HVAC, lighting products, VLC, we're going to go through that in a minute, and white goods among the first to integrate sensors at the system level to remotely monitor and adjust energy usage. However, while ease of use and reduced energy costs are all reasons for consumers to embrace the smart home concept, novelty has its place as well, and may be what really captures their attention. As evidence from residential communities in various stages of development all around the world, smart homes currently range from marginally intelligent to fully connected, said Marlene Barn, principal analyst. Part of the reason for its slow acceptance to this point may be that smart home implies a certain level of complexity and need for technical proficiency that most consumers aren't comfortable with. You mean like surveilling you? Consumer-friendly products and approaches are what will truly drive the growth of this segment, and both means and nanomaterials are playing a key role here.
Stuff that doesn't have
IoT world today, sensors in poured concrete, smarter roads. So it's in concrete now too. They're putting biosensors into. So they're trying to make it so every structure is going to be a biosensor repeater to continue moving the data in real time that they're collecting from us through the 5G system.
And 6G.
And 6G system, which are the injections.
There has been actually rapid digitization in the past 2 decades with the emergence of sequencing technology, electronic medical record, and smart health sensors. So the digitization of all those biomedical data enable pre-training of extremely powerful large language models, which could become a game changer for precision health.
Control you through your lights,
precision
your
health
Wi-Fi,
can be boiled down to
your
just
TV
one
screens,
unifying
your
concept,
phones,
and that's really how do we use the most possible
router
data about a
information,
patient, unique to that patient,
seeing
to
you,
take care of them
and/or
based on that
manipulating
data.
you, or
So
both.
we understand the most about that patient in order to affect the best therapy.
The reality is a far cry from the ideal. Health ecosystem is really plagued by sort of an overwhelming amount of unstructured data, as well as like unscalable manual processing. We have done extensive research collaboration with big health systems such as Providence. With Dr. Carlo Bifoco and team, we make a lot of progress in applying large language models to structure patient records. A lot of this work start to empower their daily work in clinical trial matching.
Clinical trial matching is very difficult. We in general really struggle to enroll people in clinical trials because of the complex enrollment process.
Decides who lives and who dies.
Clinical trial matching can be quite hard because a lot of the key information about the trial and the patient is actually buried underneath a lot of the unstructured free text. As a result, less than 3% of the US cancer patients were able to find a matching trial, whereas 40% of cancer trial failure simply stem from insufficient recruitment.
The tools that we have developed together, tools really tailored to the single patient's need, which are matching the patients in a real-time kind of environment. In addition to this patient-centric model, we also have a clinical trial-centric model where we help investigators enroll patients inside the trial that
is heavily invested into. And we've learned how the Canadian government, the Israeli government, and the United Nations BITCO are all heavily invested into biodigital convergence, bioconvergence, which is nature merging with machine, which comes down to these CRISPR machine learning biosensors that have been injected into everybody. So now that you've had an aha moment after watching this video thus far, I'm going to give you a quick glimpse into electroceuticals. We're going to watch just a quick video clip on that, and then I'm going to walk you through literally the already built all around you and also inside your house KillGrid precision AI medical grid that they're building in order to.
That's why we got all old stuff we use.
Which is not even traditional medicine, but drugging through pills and drugs and injections. It's going to be electric drugging through biofrequencies. Frequencies that they're putting out with these implants that they're building, that they call 5G.
Why we use radionics and I make my plasma to
shield us. Literally show you the infrastructure that is already built all around you, and I'm going to also show you.
I've been warning people about this for years.
On a global scale.
It's how you stay a fully autonomous, self-organizing system. Otherwise, this way, because they know and realize and accept that energy waveform. The human body is not in bulk or flesh, but actually energy densities and information fields.
Drugs that have side effects. And in some cases, like Parkinson's disease, other drugs are added to those drugs to treat the side effects of the original drug, and it can be very difficult. Bioelectronic devices can be implanted once and then programmed to work all day long for many, many years. Patients don't have to remember to take their medications, treat the side effects of the original drug, and it can be very difficult. Bioelectronic devices can be implanted once and then programmed to work all day long for many, many years. Patients don't have to remember to take their medications. And many of these devices will have minimal or no side effects.
We are on the cusp of treating new diseases in new ways that would not have been imagined even 5 years ago.
We started the pivotal early trials in bioelectronic medicine going after diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, inflammatory bowel disease, and even lethal shock. And the early clinical trials have been extremely promising. There are patients who have been treated with bioelectronic medical devices today who are in remission and are living nearly normal lives and are not taking medications.
in the Center for Bioelectronic Medicine, we're not only looking at inflammatory conditions, we're also looking at ways to treat diabetes, cardiac disease, spinal cord and brain injury, and we hope to develop new ways to treat cancer.
We are in a position to create new devices to treat very significant impacts for patients who undergo surgery, devices to treat diseases in entirely new ways. One example of that is the neural tourniquet. This is a device that has the ability to stimulate a nerve through the skin and control bleeding. This has very significant impacts for patients who undergo surgery, for anybody who sustains a traumatic injury, whether that's in the civilian world or for our soldiers on the battlefield.
Creating the new Center for Bioelectronic Medicine is really another example of Northwell encouraging innovation at all levels.
Bioelectronic medicine is a brand new field, and Northwell's leadership gives us the opportunity.
Global. Have you ever watched fireflies flashing on a humid summer evening? Or have you swum on a warm summer night and been surrounded by green flashes? This is the phenomenon of bioluminescence.
Same as the human body.
By living organisms. These flashes of light can have many purposes,
Someone who can look
from
this.
prey to evading predators to attracting
Biophosphorylation.
Bioluminescence produces bright light without making toxic byproducts or excessive heat, either of which could be dangerous. To do this, chemical reactions are controlled by proteins called enzymes. For example, fireflies have an enzyme called luciferase that converts the chemical luciferin to oxyluciferin. This reaction also uses ATP and oxygen and creates diphosphate, AMP, carbon dioxide, and light. Bioluminescence is really important in biomedical research because it is possible to take the luciferase gene from fireflies and transfer it to other cells. Those cells then produce the luciferase protein and will make light when exposed to luciferin. Scientists have taken advantage of luciferase to create reporter assays that help them track gene activity, such that cells produce light only when the gene of interest is turned on, or as a way to keep track of cells moving through tissues in models of cancer. Here, only the cancer cells have the luciferase gene, and so by watching where the light goes, we can visualize them metastasizing through tissues. Bioluminescence is a mesmerizing biological phenomenon. Next time you sit on the porch and spy a firefly floating by, remember that these little lightning bugs are helping scientists to understand the world and to cure cancer.
Okay, so here we are on Elon Musk's Twitter post. I'll have a link to this down below too. Go give him a piece of your mind. So this is part of the space aspect of what they are setting up for infrastructure. If it's even real, I don't know. This is what they're telling us.
That's because they're able to send more energy over lasers. The Chinese
our next generation
did their stuff better.
Optical, like optogenetics, optical space lasers. Pew pew.
Optogenetics and epigenetics, but radiesthesia and so forth is what you have to be mindful of.
That was just this past Monday.
Scalarized generation and quantum field sensors.
SpaceX reveals operation of over 8,000 space lasers across Starlink satellite constellation, enabling faster internet.
That's
what their claim is.
It's not set up yet. It's China outdid them already.
So with what I'm about to show you next, you should have a way better basic global infrastructure for a complete control grid, guys. Complete control grid. Never mind the CBDC. That's a whole other aspect.
Prisoner.
This will be a complete
and making weed that doesn't take you or give you enlightenment because they've interjected in triple O instead of double O genes where there's seedless cannabis strands to where Monsanto created it and Yoni.
This Google search page down below in the description.
Yoni get seedless plants from the seeds they give you, which means there's nothing in it.
Street lights connecting with each other through VLC, visual light
communication. Once that takes over,
don't be no herb. That's only one aspect of it.
That's good. That takes you to a good place. That's why I'm setting seed for my stuff now.
Here's a research paper from the IEEE committee.
That I've been saving for years. With the cars, all this stuff.
Diagram.
Cars, the antennas, their phones, everything,
communicating with the
watches,
humans,
all that
their
shit.
devices, and transmitting
So they
the
know where you
data
are.
through Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, all the way up to the www dot, which is actually the global information grid that Sabrina Wallace talks about quite a bit, and the direct link for that will be down in the description as well. I hope you go and do your Google Finger research. So here we are again, Google Fingers, 5G VLC indoor IEEE. Okay, visual light communication indoor. Go right here. You can see their illumination source, which is your LED light finger research. So here, www dot, which is actually really by their diagram. All right, that's from the MDPI. Here's a research paper from the IEEE committee hosting. And you can see here clearly by their diagram, you have the 5G LED street lights communicating with the humans, their devices, and transmitting the data through Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, all the way up to the www dot, which is actually the global information grid that Sabrina Wallace talks about quite a bit. And the direct link for that will be down in the description as well. I hope you go and do your Google Finger research. So here we are again, Google Fingers, 5G VLC indoor IEEE. Okay, visual light communication indoor. Go right here. You can see their illumination source, which is your LED lighting within the house, transmitting and broadcasting back and forth in between the VLC terminals, which is your smart TV, your smart devices, which would be your laptop, computers, cell phone, which would also include your smart washer and dryer, smart appliances, smart anything that is inside your house equipped with biosensors and repeaters. You can see here by this beautiful diagram also the LED lamps, VLC link, and you can see how the arrows are going both ways because everything technology is dual use. It's a double-edged sword. It can be used for good or it can be used for bad. It can be used to transmit data or it can be used to accept data, okay? Everything is dual use. If they can grab the data from you, they can also send data to you. So there is your visual light communication connecting to every single device in your house, which is actually creating a surveillance system.
Project title: Visual Light Communication Based Indoor Monitoring System. The hardware we used here: GSM Air 800, sonar sensor, light dependent resistor, servo motor, Arduino Mega, breadboard, PVC board, LED, jumper wire. The software we used: Arduino IDE and processing.
Signal from LDR array is passed to the microcontroller via an analog to digital converter. Data from sonar is directly passed to the microcontroller. Data is processed by Arduino and sent to processing software for visualization.
Here is a scaled-down model of a room for demonstration. The LDR array is placed on the floor. Data from LDR and sonar sensors are processed by Arduino and passed to the processing software using serial communication. The processing software represents the floor of the room as a grid of cells. User can select any area on the floor by left-clicking and deselect it by right-clicking of the mouse. If anything is detected on a selected area, then an automated SMS is sent to a predefined number by GSM module. We can see a message is sent saying intruder alert. Here you can see the code for Arduino.
Optogenetics has changed how neuroscientists study the brain. It provides a fast and precise method for controlling neurons using light.
They said they control the monkey with the color yellow.
Control a neuron inside a functioning brain.
Put it in the newspaper in 2012 when the color yellow came out on all screens. And then the color blue.
The key lies in a group of membrane proteins called opsins. Opsins are light-sensitive receptors that convert light into electrical signals by letting charged
particles. National Security Cabinet members manufactured and politicized intelligence to lay the groundwork for what was essentially a years-long coup against President Trump.
This shit's crazy. Just draining people's energy.
For 4 years, from 1987. Everybody's coming out. Everybody named Mama. Everybody named Mama gonna come out now. Woo! I really would like to see what ends up happening with this whole.
Do we have any other information on this? This is all breaking, so bear with me, guys, because I'm trying to get you the latest information.
Correct wavelength of light. Retinol changes from 11-cis to all-trans and causes the opsin to activate and shuttle ions across the membrane. In nature, opsins are found in microorganisms, like the algae Volvox, and allow them to move toward light and improve photosynthesis. In optogenetics, researchers have taken cells like neurons and genetically introduced opsins to artificially control their firing. Neurons fire in response to electrical signals created by the relative charge between the outside and inside of the cell. At its resting state, the inside of the neuron is more negative. Influx of positive ions through channels, like sodium, cause the neuron to become more positive until it reaches a threshold. This creates an action potential, where the positive charge is relayed down to the synapse, causing signaling to the next cell. Negative ions entering the cell have the opposite effect, making the relative charge inside the neuron more negative, inhibiting firing. By introducing opsins to neurons, we can control these electrical signals with light. By bringing in positive ions like sodium, potassium, and protons, opsins can make the inside of the neuron more positive. This sets off an action potential and fires the neuron. Opsins can also be used to make the neuron more negative by bringing chloride ions in or sending positive ions like protons out. This blocks action potentials and inhibits firing. Through this process, opsins convert light into electrical gradients and effectively act as light-evoked on or off switches for neuronal firing. Because opsins are not naturally found in neurons, they need to be genetically introduced to cells as DNA. This is commonly done through viral delivery with AAV, or electroporation. A big part of successfully using optogenetic tools is making sure that opsins are only expressed in target cells. Scientists can target expression using tissue-specific promoters, AAV serotypes, and the ever-growing variety of recombinase systems. These techniques make it possible to target brain regions, neuron types, or even neuron cell bodies or projections. Optogenetics is a non-invasive, quick, and precise method for manipulating neurons even within a living organism. With optogenetics, we can link specific neurons to behaviors and control brain activity. These tools could hold the key to uncovering the underlying systems behind brain function and neurological disease.
So you can see ResearchGate, this wonderful diagram again, the LED lamps connecting with every smart device in your home. And you can see the arrows are going two ways. So it's sending and it's also receiving data. Everything is dual use purposes. Visible light communication, VLC, is the use of visible light with a frequency of 400 to 800 terahertz wavelength of 780 to 375 nanometers as a transmission medium. VLC is a subject of optical wireless communications LEDs for up to 500 Mbits over short distances. Systems such as Ronja can transmit at full Ethernet speed 10 Mbits over distances of 1 to 2 kilometers. All right? Bits over short distances. Systems such as Ronja can transmit at full Ethernet speed 10 Mbits over distances of 1 to 2 kilometers. All right? That's why they need all of these biosensors. Optogenetics electric drugging. See this beautiful picture? In optogenetics, buttons for neural switchboards, the New York Times. I'm just going to show you a quick video of how this works, okay? Controlling the rats via optogenetics and visual light communication signals.
Okay. Channel rhodopsin 2.
Okay, switch mouse.
So we'll check all of them.
Okay.
These are the mice injected with AAV6 channel rhodopsin 2 construct.
Was injected.
13 days after injection.
Okay.
So let's start with this one. This one received a double dose. For now, this is ipsilateral paw.
Start with contralateral next time.
So, and now contralateral. No reaction at all. This mouse received also a double dose injection. Contralateral. No reaction. Ipsilateral.
Immediately.
Next one. So we start from contralateral. Hey, move a little bit.
No, don't.
Okay. Contralateral. Apparently no reaction. Ipsilateral. Immediate.
Wow.
So contralateral for this one. Nothing. No. Ipsilateral. Can you see it?
Yes.
This contralateral. Nothing. Ipsi. This was the bad injected mice.
It's very easy to tell.
Yep.
Because they all jump and jitter normally.
See all these lights right here? I get a question about 3 to 4 times a week on average about people asking, why are the lights purple? Why have they turned purple? Like there's a perfect one right there. That one looks really good right there.
So again, Google fingers, optogenetics in humans, Wikipedia. It's just going to bring you to optogenetics. So optogenetics. Optogenetics is a biological technique to control the activity of neurons or other cell types with light, visual light communication. This is achieved by...
You can make a rat freeze up and have difficulty walking. If you activate a different subset, the rats start moving faster. They take light-sensitive proteins from very humble species, such as algae that you find in a pond, and can put them into another animal, such as a rat or a mouse. This gives you the ability to control the activity of your brain cells just by shining light on them. So imagine if we could use optogenetics or similar technology to get the input from an artificial sensor into our brain. In principle, we could not only restore function, we could enhance our current functions. So we could give ourselves ultraviolet light detectors, for example, the way mantis shrimps have. Or we could take an example from fruit flies and give ourselves carbon dioxide detectors, and then we could automatically sense our air quality. When things go wrong with the brain, it's just so devastating. I think one of the hopes for optogenetics is that if it can work in humans, that it might be used as a tool for restoring brain function. There's a lot of ethical issues about enhancing your function and making yourself better. This is what actually the whole discussion after my ideas lab morphed into, which was not about optogenetics or not what we might do, but whether we should do it. So that's a really great point. So would there be a side effect to increasing your capacity by 20%? It's really, really fun to fantasize about the future. You know, in 10 years' time, we might all be enhanced with implants. That's the future, and it's a future that should be very carefully considered. And I think what we have right now, which is just the possibility of learning, is actually exciting enough on its own.
Having control of mind over matter is a very old dream of mankind, as shown here by Yoda taking out the X-Wing fighter of Luke Skywalker out of the swamp. No matter what we do with our brain, we essentially produce electricity, which we can record, which we can process, and which we can use to switch on a lamp in a science called optogenetics, the science to program the behavior of human cells by shining light on them. We devised such an optogenetic device with near-infrared light, which illuminates the cells and programs them to produce a particular drug at the right time and the right dose. The longer we illuminate those cells, the more drug they produce, so we can finely tune the drug production and eventually the drug levels in circulation. We could also simply switch off the light, and so drug production goes down again. And by the interplay of switching on the light and switching off the light, we can switch off drug production or we can switch it on. We can not only precisely dose drug production, but we can also adapt it to the dynamics of the disease. How do we link this to mind control gene expression? We equip the subject with a headset and so record the brain activities by an encephalogram, which we use to program a controller that switches on the near-infrared light, which illuminates the human cells and so triggers their drug production to a precise dose. But we wanted also to fine-tune drug production in a living system. So if we think therapeutic, record the brain activities, we switch on the lamp inside an animal and so fine-tune the levels of the drug in a living animal and in its bloodstream. The components we need for that is a field generator which powers up the near-infrared implant. It's much like charging your toothbrush in the morning by putting it into the stand. They light up the near-infrared light, which illuminates the cells in the cell culture chamber. They produce the drug, and then the implant is placed under the skin of the animal. We see here the implant in bigger detail with its sealed electronics, the near-infrared LED switched on, illuminating the cells in the cell culture chamber where the cells produce the drug, which then diffuses out of the implant into the bloodstream through the semi-permeable membranes. Now, eventually, we have all the components ready, so the subject with its headset, we can record the brain activities, the encephalogram, then program the controller, which powers up, switches on the field generator that powers up and controls the wireless powered near-infrared implant that is placed under the skin. So if we ask the subject to adopt very special mental activities, such as to concentrate and focus or meditate and relax, we record specific brain activities that are then used to program the level of the drug in the animal to a precise level completely remotely. We're getting smaller with this technology, so this is the latest generation implant, powered by a smartphone battery under the hand here. This is an energy source we carry along with us every day. Eventually, we hope we're getting this smaller so we can program and power it up by the battery of a wristwatch. So eventually, we go towards a world of therapeutic thinking that we can intentionally control transgene expression in our body. We will also learn how to detect brain activities associated with chronic pain and epilepsy, or record pathologic brain activities which are related to neurodegenerative disorders such as Parkinson's disease and Alzheimer's. So we really learn how to think therapeutic. Thank you very much.
1960s when they produced this movie that you probably heard of called Fantastic Voyage. The idea of taking a submarine with 4 people in it and shrinking it down, injecting it into somebody's body. It's actually a scientist who had a blood clot in his brain, and the idea for them was to try to remove that blood clot. Now, Hollywood has some advantages we don't have in that they don't have to worry about physics when they come up with their ideas. They don't have to worry what happens when things become small and what's the difference about the physics. The other thing is Hollywood doesn't have to actually make these things. They don't worry about fabrication and what technologies exist, and we do have to worry about that. To be inspired by how to approach this problem, of course we look to nature like a lot of folks in engineering do. And what you see here on the left are paramecia. They're about the width of a hair, and you look at the guy on top there, and he's got all these hairs that are, you know, he's avoiding obstacles, he's searching for food, he's very intelligent. He doesn't have a single neuron. But back in the 1600s for the first time. And it wasn't, though, until the 1970s when we realized they actually had a rotary motor that was twisting this little flagella that were making it propel through liquid. And so we started looking at that motor and realized the complexity of that. A lot of scientists have studied that for the last several decades. It's made out of about 35 proteins. Now, I don't have the nanotechnology available to me to make that, but I can learn a lot of lessons from how E. coli swim by looking at that flagella and understanding the physics of that. So we leveraged some of our nanotechnology that we had in developing nanoribbons, and we realized those nanoribbons that are about 20 nanometers thick actually look a lot like these flagella. And if we put a little magnet on the end of it and we put it in a rotating magnetic field, it propels itself forward using the identical physics to what a E. coli uses to swim through liquid. We first realized these back in 2007, and here's 3 of them swimming together. I look at these and they feel like they're alive to me, although I know they're not, but there's a certain joy you get in building a machine and seeing it work in a complicated way. One of the technologies since 2007 that have become available to us is 3D nanoprinting, and that's opened up a whole new possibility now for making micro machines and nano machines. And now we can add new tools to them. We can build a plethora of different kinds of machines. But one of the things we really want to do, though, is take our machines and functionalize them, put chemicals on them to do something. And in this case, what we've done is we've attached DNA to these, and now those red dots, those are actually individual cells that are stained. And as we touch those cells and remain in contact with them, those cells take up the DNA and start transfecting it, start turning that DNA into a protein to produce yellow fluorescence. We've also taken 80,000 of these and injected them into a mouse peritoneal cavity and gotten them to swim around. So over the years, we've learned a lot about how to use magnetic fields to drive these, how to control small things. And so we're thinking about how to move into the clinic. So one of the things we realized was much easier to get into the clinic is if we actually connected these to a tether so that we could pull them out. And in fact, what we did was we just took a catheter and put a magnet on the end of it. And then if we put that catheter into the person, we can use some of these lessons about how to guide that catheter very, very precisely. In this case, within the heart chamber to treat a condition known as cardiac arrhythmia, where the heart doesn't beat properly. Now, if we can ablate sections of that heart tissue, we can reset the way the heart beats, and the person's heart can beat properly. And so you see this very precisely controlled, very tiny millimeter-sized catheter in an animation. But in fact, what we've been able to do is turn this into a real device. It's in a hospital in Zurich, just outside of Zurich. This is a spin-off company out of my lab. And here we are doing one of our operations on a woman you see by herself. And these are the surgeons right here. They're actually controlling that device literally in the heart of this woman. We're still, though, interested in how to build small machines and how to build, can we ever realize these kinds of complex micro motors, micro machines? We learn a lot about nature and are inspired by it and continue to move down this path to see what's the future going to bring here. So thank you very much.
So firstly, what is Li-Fi technology or the light fidelity technology? See, it was invented by the German physicist and professor Harald Haas. Well, like you all know, traditionally in Wi-Fi technology, we had radio waves to transmit data between the devices and router. But what happens in Li-Fi technology is that it uses visible light to transmit data in place of radio waves. And these data are transferred at terabits per second speeds, which is more than 100 times the speed of the regular Wi-Fi. Let us now look at the working of this technology in detail. Like I mentioned earlier, this technology runs on the visible light, which requires 3 main components. First one is the LED bulb to transmit the signals. And then we need the photo detector to receive the signals sent from the LED bulb and a signal processing unit. So the first step in its working is that data is fed into an LED bulb with signal processing technology. And then this LED bulb sends data embedded in its beam at rapid speeds to the photo detector, which is used.
I talked about this in the old things about Below Force Base phased array. They had to put everybody, antenna, TVs, broadcast, oneself was broadcast differently. You sat in front of a particle accelerator and such, the way the old vacuum tube TVs were activated and so forth. Harvested your power. Energetics. They had to put these grounding things in there, otherwise it would fuck with people's pacemaker through the TV or flying through the beam when you'd be in an airplane.
Usually the photodiode, and this photo detector converts this received signal into electrical signals. But these electrical signals cannot be read directly by our devices. So to convert the received data into streamable content, we use signal processing element, which converts these electrical signals into a binary data stream that the user would recognize as web, video or audio applications that run on internet enabled devices. Let's simplify it further. See, when an electrical current is applied to a LED bulb, a stream of light is emitted from the bulb. LED bulbs are semiconductor devices, which means that the brightness of the light flowing through them can be changed at extremely high speeds. And this feature precisely allows us to send a signal by modulating the light at different rates. And then the signal can be received by a detector which interprets the changes in light intensity as data. Now, what are the main advantages of this technology? The first benefit here is that it could make a huge impact on the Internet of Things. It is because with this technology, data can be transferred at higher speeds and more devices can be connected to one another. Here, the speed of the Li-Fi technology can be as good as 224 gigabytes per second. And next, this technology helps in overcoming the limitations of Wi-Fi by providing for data-heavy communication in short ranges. And more importantly, due to its shorter range, Li-Fi is more secure than Wi-Fi. See, in Wi-Fi technology, things such as wall are not an obstacle for this technology. And hence, data through Wi-Fi technology can be shared across these obstacles, making it more unsecure. Whereas in Li-Fi technology, the data can be shared only through its beam. And hence, it is said to be more secure than the Wi-Fi technology. And more importantly, it is also called as a green technology for device-to-device communication in the Internet of Things because it does not pollute the environment. And above all, Li-Fi is less power greedy, which means it consumes less power compared to the other technologies. However, this technology too has some limitations. And what are they? Firstly, like we discussed earlier, this technology uses the visible light. And as visual light can't pass through opaque objects and needs line of sight for communication, the range of Li-Fi will remain very restricted to start. And in such scenarios, in order to enjoy full connectivity, more capable LED bulbs will need to be placed at various places. And next, to make sure that Li-Fi technology works seamlessly, we need to ensure that the light bulb is turned on at all times. And this essentially means that the light bulbs will need to be turned on even during the day. And thirdly, it may also face interference from external light sources such as sunlight and bulbs. And there are also obstructions in the path of transmission, and in such scenarios, it may cause interruptions in communication. And above all, initially there will be high installation costs of visual light communication systems as an add-on to the existing lighting systems. So what are the potential applications of this technology then? How can we use this technology to make our lives simpler and better? Firstly, it can be used in street and traffic lights. Here, through the use of this technology, traffic lights can communicate to the vehicles and with each other. And then traffic control can be made intelligent and real-time adaptable. And each traffic and street light can be converted into access point to convert roadsides into wireless hotspots. And this technology can also be used in reducing the road accidents. How? Vehicles having LED-based headlights and tail lamps can communicate with each other and prevent accidents by exchanging information in real time. And thirdly, visible light being safer, they can be used in places where radio waves can't be used, such as petrochemical and nuclear plants, and even in hospitals and in aircrafts. And more importantly, it can easily work underwater where Wi-Fi fails completely. So this throws endless opportunities for military and navigational purposes. And lastly, it also presents another unique possibility. What is it? See, using one beam of light, the device can be charged and as well as given access to data at the same time. So these are some of the potential applications of the Li-Fi technology. Here, what are the opportunities for India in this technology? See, mainly we have two problems now. One is chaotic traffic management and another limitation of data access. So with this technology, we can convert traffic lights into LED based access points. And this makes traffic management intelligent, adaptive and real time, and so more efficient and effective. And similarly, street lights can also be converted into Li-Fi access points, making them broadband access transmitters to mobile Li-Fi enabled smartphones. And lastly, what are the main differences between the Li-Fi technology and Wi-Fi technology? Firstly, it is in the nomenclature. Li-Fi is known as the light fidelity and Wi-Fi is known as wireless fidelity. And secondly, Li-Fi is the transmission of data with the use of the light produced by LED bulbs. And Wi-Fi is the transmission of data with the use of radio waves and a Wi-Fi router. And the next difference is with respect to the transmission speeds. The data transfer in Li-Fi technology is faster when compared to the data transfer in Wi-Fi technology. And lastly, Li-Fi cannot pass through walls, so data is protected and more secure. Whereas in Wi-Fi technology, Wi-Fi signals cannot be blocked by walls, so signal needs to use more secure techniques to protect data.
So now that we've gone through visual light of you, which is online, that is built from the data extracted from you, and then is ran through algorithms and used against you through the form of manipulation of what they will show you on your personal devices, because we all have our own personal algorithms. That's the biggest danger of the digital twin, is it's you, but it can be an alter ego of you, and it can manipulate you by the visuals they show you. So now that you've seen all that, okay, and you have a basic understanding by what I've just shown you, like I said, all the links will be down below. Surveillance state, a complete surveillance state, and then which will move to the precision AI personal health care medicine, which right now we're in the first phase, which is telemedicine, moving everything online as much as they can, still having hospitals to go to, but eventually there's going to be no more nurses, there's going to be no more visits to your doctor. It's all going to be done through your phone. You will get a notification that they are now connecting to you and they are about to electrically drug you with your drugs that you're supposed to take for antidepressants or cancer or whatever not. This is what they're moving to. It's a slow move, but it is happening, and the technology is there. Okay, they have to roll it out slowly in small incremental steps. Otherwise, society will not accept it. And COVID was just the start to it, to get people to start accepting things that they wouldn't normally accept. And now here we are. We've accepted the Ukraine war. We've accepted the transgender in our schools. We just keep accepting things that we normally would not accept. But because there was a crisis, we accepted it. So let me show you what you've accepted if you have taken the jab. The more you've taken, the more connected you are. If you stopped, I'm so grateful that you stopped, and I'm hoping you will be okay. Detox as much as you can and inform yourself as much as you can so you can be prepared for what is coming, for the infrastructure that is being built right now, all around you, in incremental steps, so you don't notice unless you're really paying attention. Folks, so here we are on Dr. Professor Ian F. Akhildi's webpage, Professor in Telecommunications, President and CTO of Truva Inc. And there is all the information. I will have the link to this down below. Also, please go do your research on his homepage. This is what he looks like. Truva Inc. was founded in March 1989. The focus of the company is consulting, conducting research, teaching classes for industry and academia in the telecommunications area worldwide. Since 1989, many research projects have been successful. Talk about the Agenda 2030 all day long, but what about the important aspects of the Agenda 2030 and the people that are most important in implementing the Agenda 2030, which is complete surveillance and control of every living thing and organism on this planet, per SDG number 16. So he's got a bunch of suggested papers here, and he is also very involved in the metaverse also with Facebook. Google Scholar, Thomson Reuters. So yeah, he's, fact check him. Check for yourself. Anyways, let's let him explain to you exactly how these jabs work with telecommunications.
Sad to see only in cryptography, in error control issues, a lot of progress. And now again, the last 5-6 years, a lot of money has been getting invested progress is slow, especially for the quantum communications. I think we need at least 10 to 15, 20 years to have these full-blown, like for example, a quantum cell phone. That would be fantastic to beat the propagation delay problems in the communications. And then here, in terms of bio-nano things, these are for the health applications. I did also a lot of research on that the last 15 years. Bio-nanoscale machines, but these are for the injecting into the body and always monitoring the health problems. And that is also really going really well, like with these COVID vaccines. It's going that direction. These mRNAs are nothing than small-scale, nanoscale machines, right? They're programmed and they're injected. And then into other nanoscale things. So those will be part of 7G and beyond, right? So you can see this picture that it will explain you about what is the Internet of Bio Things concept. So you see this human body has all these kind of like biological paradigms, like neurons, hormones, and calcium ions, calcium signaling, molecular motors, bacteria, and there are zillions of them, and they create these cooperation, and then they communicate with each other inside the body. And then what we are trying to do is we will try to mimic all of these. We will create artificial, nanoscale machines. Actually, these are very small scale paradigms here. And so we will try to create these artificial nanoscale machines and inject them like artificial bacteria, for example, or artificial molecular motors, or program. You can also call them program. And then they will be helping us to attack many, many diseases. So I will explain that more to you. So now what happens is while these inside of the body has all these biological phenomena, and they communicate, and then we can also try to get the information out of the body. Like we will have these gateways, interfaces. We also call them bio-cyber interface. They are like tattoo type that you can put somewhere on your shoulder or on your arms. You can have one or multiple, and it can use a near field communication to your cell phone because it's close to you, right, most of the time. And then you can use the backbone internet, and then it can reach the physicians or healthcare providers, doctors, in other words. And then doctors can remotely reprogram them, right? So you can transmit the queries or commands, reprogram these. You will see them, and then by this way, it will be a two-way communication. Of course, mostly the communication goes from the humans to the physicians, right? More asymmetrical. And so, as you see here, that's the Internet of Bio Things concept, right? So we have the backbone internet and then the human body inside. Here's another thing, that we have two different worlds. One is the biological, chemical, or molecular world, we call it. They're using molecular communication. And this part uses the electromagnetic communication. So there is also a mismatch, right? So these gateways will take care of that, so that we can go from molecular world to the EM, electromagnetic world, or vice versa, right?
I think it's a combination of my dedication to my children and my perspective growing up and with what we're facing right now, that I, in spite of my deep desire, like everyone else, I would hope, to hang on to some semblance of the institutions that are already well past us. I am instead resolved to encourage the future to flourish by remaining open to its potentials and trusting that justice, whether by natural order or by God Himself, will occur. Again, natural order being mathematically, or God Himself by divine intervention. Therefore, ora et labora, prayer and labor, my vested interest is still best served by being honest about my environment and honest about my economic environment, honest about my emotional and mental and physical environment. And that all leads me back to the potential of a digital ID. Now, due to recovering from a stroke, graphene in my veins and arteries are not going to get along well. It would remove a mother from my children, but our systems as they're built right now are not built for such considerations. They are built for smart city algorithms and biomedical health applications that much like what we saw with the Humetrix oversight with an intensivist in charge of a bigger iPad, these are network artificial intelligence precision healthcare decisions that are made at database levels, and with the weather warfare going unchecked and being absconded by calling it climate change, while the same iPads and databases are interfacing daily for bioconductor, biomedical, bioinformatics software that also reports to EIDS, which is the Electronic Integrated Disease Surveillance System, that then reports to another COVID body area network database of who does and does not have more injections and of what kind of injections or augmentations would be my suspicion, because these systems of human augmentation did not start 5 years ago. The biosensors are a format of soft robotics. That's 2005, commercially available to Zigbee and Bluetooth for light switches, which we now see with virtual light communication with just the Li-Fi Wi-Fi, the light in the air and the ubiquitous. Wireless drugging and wireless tissue engineering may be new to you and me. For the year or so we've been looking at it, but we're looking at industries and products that have been out there now for over 8 years, at least. So that means that the majority of the people right now saying put your mask back on, you can postulate and theorize why they would do that. But the truth is that people are not nearly as stupid as everyone has been led to believe. They're well paid for a future that they are allowing to flourish. So many were involved with the deployment of Operation Warp Speed, whether by law enforcement, local people, or people involved in the Smart City Agenda 2030, which almost requires human augmentation with soft robotics biosensors, synthetic biology and biosynthesis, and combinatorial synthesis libraries that are much like the brain imaging library Bill, that looks at you in your blood in real time to determine where you can physically move to and how long you can physically stay in that location, and where you are allowed to visit and where you are allowed to remain is in a residence. These systems of digital control are not just some opto-panopticon grid anymore. They are already in place, not in the store. So I've done everything that I know how to do, short of continuing a few more PDFs and biofield practice, because humans did not want to say no. As you can see from all the truthing people we've had since 2019. I'm not even going to go back to 2012. 2019, when the rites of passage of graduation parties, driver's licenses, and funerals disappeared. When the rites of passage to just go visit a friend state to state became a harrowing experience and disappeared soon enough. The sound of an engine, the ability to tinker, also disappearing, whether by the cost of components and resources to do so, or by the ability of others to punish people for having knowledge. We've already been complicit in all of that, and we are charging thunderously down the irreversible road of eradicating free thought and free will with no issue. We passed that point in 1995. 2005, we committed soft robotics on the heels of that decade of lacing bodies to the internet. It's already 2023. We all just found out? Well, they've been very busy. Deal with that accordingly. Now turn to me and say, put your mask on and take this lethal injection, or we make your children go away. Either way, no more health care for you, no more pension, no more whatever it is, unless you do what we say. Well, they would never do COVID-19 again, or its derivatives, for the digital identifier that's been inside of everyone per cybersecurity standards since 2009 that you can source. Open source. Feature values. There are too many people involved in all this, and you're not going to arrest half the nation. So what are you doing with all this stagnation? We wouldn't have an AIDS. We wouldn't have COVID with its own body area networks and data centers if there wasn't a bigger plan here. Zeus and Scorpius software inclusive, now that it's movable. For testing uranium, by the way, we had to make the software for testing uranium, by the way, more movable, because it's not just for that. Ghost stories about aliens, ghost stories about liminal spaces. That's two things. But real human bodies disappearing and or piling up are real things that we're not allowed to talk about. Just like we're not allowed to talk about, why is it that Benadryl suddenly doesn't work? What inside of that drug blocked the ACE2 receptor, which is the primary component of the spiked protein, watching you and reporting properly? How are they watching you? From the inside out, in your tissue, in real time. Tell me how. Because if you can't tell me how, then you can't tell me how to turn it off, protect yourself, or pursue a viable, peaceful or not, just viable solution. So before you make any other assumptions about the channel, the people on it, or why they're here, I think you should reassess your environment. Because I know that I am, moment by moment, especially now. People still want to claw and scratch and squeal to hang on to their nostalgia that was never real. I'm 44 years old. The world that all of us grew up in was always a fake world to me. So what does that tell you about the future that they've been working to nourish versus the future that we are working to bury so that we can grow our own way forward? Because I do not want graphene growing in my veins. They do. I don't want to commit into their systems of consumption, whether by blood and tissue, youth and innocence, other people's work for their own benefits, inappropriately, aka slavery of whatever format. I don't want those systems. Usury. No. So I'm hitting the wide body area network, the electrical measurements head on. I'm putting the bioelectric body part back head on. I'm putting the wireless back head on. And I'm looking at anthropology, historical acumen, financial decisions, educational acumen, the way we've really handled our prison systems. And I see that we have the same systems very quietly operant as they always have been, just with a new veneer of titles and terms like mental health and a DSM instead of the priest and the reporting to the Vatican. DSM. Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Check a Box. You're a dissident. You didn't like what we said? You didn't like what we did? You couldn't pay us enough money to pay for your sins in advance? Away with you.
That's why we have the snatch arrest going on. Jump off boards, grabbing people, dummies thinking the system happens and it's supposed to be the criminal aliens.
I have no illusions. But I have 2 children who barely met the world in very few ways to have them interface with the world with any measure of decorum, class, safety, or potential to manifest a future, whether with a friend or a conversation or a business partner. All of it is trash and noise. Two-facedness everywhere. Materials that don't function properly. Promises that are made to not be kept. This is not a world that supports systems of growth. It is pure death, economically, emotionally, educationally, death. And no one seems to be bothered. They want to hurry and put their mask back on. There's a reason for that, and why the sentiment remains so strong. When I read open source materials about the Wide Body Area Network, when I stay rooted in reality of fighting off radiation poisoning regularly due to where I live, and this ain't no Aaron Brockovich situation. This is purposeful cell and tissue degradation for human husbandry and population control mandated here in the United States, bare minimum, since the Zero Trust policy by our Pentagon in the 50s. And now everybody got kill box, and everybody's kill box got a blue box potential order system on a drone in their home with a phone.
They use that in Afghanistan and Iraq war. And why those people stop using electronics, but Americans don't.
My aim was simple. Humans have a body part wrapped up in all this to make it work. The Rosicrucians frighten people like a bunch of jerks using nanolipids and the wireless. I teach for free because everybody should know that it's their body, not yours. AT&T, Verizon, fill in the dots, da-da-da, blame somebody else. Not friends and neighbors, blame ourselves. And nobody's standing up for that. Nobody's standing up, and nobody is talking about WBAN. It took a dad out of Canada to force the issue. That's just wrong in every direction. There were other people, as that was pointed out to me, like including Cliff High and Max Egan and others. So why weren't they there? Oh, I said Internet of Bodies inside of one podcast that I gave. I said something. No, you didn't. It's a body part. We've had 150 years of it disappearing. It's going to take more than one mention of the Internet of Bodies on a podcast. No. Well, the reason it was no is surveillance. Yeah, go ask the police to give up their body cams. Who the fuck are you? There we are. But you're gonna go hand your money to the Targeted versus Garland group because surely somebody legally somewhere is gonna care. Go tell the police right now in your house because you don't want them surveilling you. Body cams, any surveillance that you got on the neighborhood watch and everywhere else in between your fusion center. I'm driving past, I want my privacy. That's laughable to people. So put it back in perspective. 1995, Body Area Network. And those of us who are from these communities, targeted individual electronic assault, electronic warfare, now our communities are big enough to include the whole world and people who are veterans from March of 2023 on ABC News being told, nah, you're crazy, take drugs. Now I hope that this somber sounding version of Morning Coffee hits those of you that are still sitting there doing absolutely nothing to let people know how far along all of this already is. Because the longer you've waited, the worse their head smashes into the windshield of reality, which is nearly here. It's Blade Runner for real. You don't agree? You'll be dead in a minute, just wait. And when your body hits the ground, because they're augmented and you're not, a Serenius chip set in their left hemisphere or other components of their body that are electrically augmented in such a way that their field does things your biofield does not. You're not prepared for it. You don't even hear it or feel it. 5 minutes later, or right, like I said, right there, you're dead. And what are people around you going to say? You smoked too much, you ate too much butter, you drank too much. In one way or another, sudden adult death syndrome, it's all your fault. It's one thing for those of us who are over the hill at 44 and 50 and 60, which as far as you're concerned, we're all done and dead anyways. Databases, not y'all out there. But for my children at 18 and 19, Ready Player One looks like a luxurio paradisium in comparison to what they're doing, to what they've already done. Hi. Now say hi. You should have cared. You still have some time to care. I hope so. There's plenty of people on this channel that care. We're doing the best that we can. For the love of everything you've ever loved, and for me, for the love of God, say something now. Well, what will it do anyhow? I don't know. But as Cliff, in all of his, like I attacked his math because I'm like, dude, they already know. But for all of you out there that continue to bombard me, that know Sabrina, no, they don't know, it's all we've got. There should be, and this is why I've said it, is I am one person, I do not want to be viral, I don't do interviews, you may not pay me. But if you tell people, hey, you're tethered to the cloud, that's a biofrequency weapon, they mean it. Maybe you can push on people enough to at least have some heads up, but I still think it's going to end up being small communities because they are augmented. They require red shirts and they require tissues and organs. And it looks like a lot of people are in good business. Good business practices with biomedical wireless tissue engineering and organs. Biofield practice, block, shock, shunt, and shield. The Lord rebuke thee. Get out of my biofield. Amen. Mark 5:36, sola fide. Pater noster qui es in celi, sanctificatur nomen tuum, adveniat regnum tuum, fiat voluntas tua, sicut in cielo et in terra. Panem nos truum quotidianum da nobis hodie, dimitte nobis debita nostra, sicut et nos dimittimus debitoribus nostris, et ne nos inducas in tentationem,